Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Thank you for joining this GP Strategies webinar, where we'll explore best practices and innovative insights to help you and your organization improve performance.
Hello, and welcome to this on-demand webinar, 5 Steps to Better Learning Events in 2024, with our presenter, Emily Walker, who I am excited to introduce you to right now. Emily is the Global Learning Events Manager at GP Strategies, leads the Professional Service Learning Administration team, managing our white glove approach to leadership learning and training events. Emily has developed this offering to be a fully fledged learning events management team supporting partnerships across multiple industries. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Emily.
Thank you. Welcome to this session. So I'm going to be talking about the 5 steps to better learning events in 2024. And we've kind of broken this down into kind of 5 key areas, which is kind of the planning for the planning, the learning event agreed, and the next steps to that, risk planning and mitigation, event support and staffing, and then the event apps and data-driven insights. Now, in my personal opinion, it is the planning for the planning that is the most important step, and it's what you do here that really, in my mind, makes your event successful or it doesn't. And so this is where I think a lot of the big discussions need to happen, a lot of the big decisions need to be made, and it's all really down to the why. So we need to know why we're doing something in the first place, and every good event has kind of strong and clear objectives, scopes, timelines, budgets, all that good stuff. But the most important phase is understanding this why. Why do we want to do this? Why do we want to spend money on this? We wouldn't go on a holiday without planning it. We wouldn't kind of spend lots of money on a fantastic trip away without kind of consulting people or understanding what it is that we want to go do on this holiday. And that's the mindset that we should apply to these learning programs and events. And I've kind of been trying really hard to kind of think on a way how to communicate the importance of these why questions. And it was my brother actually that put me onto a TED talk by Simon Sinek, and it's Start With Why. And it really sums up beautifully, I think, and I really recommend that you watch it or read it. And it creates this kind of discipline and decision making. It creates a space for inspiration. It creates space for people to be creative, to have really good discussions. But it also creates that anchor in which every single individual supporting that learning program and event can kind of go back to and make sure that they're keeping it top of mind in any decision or any action during the next kind of 4 phases of an event. And so this planning phase is also what's really going to set your team up for success. Not just your team as a whole, but also your individual team members. So for failing to prepare at this stage is not only setting, in my mind, the event up for failure, but it's also setting up your team for failure. Because how can they deliver if you don't really know what it is you're wanting them to do? And so it gives clear direction. It makes people work more efficiently, more effectively, and it also aligns the team in making sure that they are all working to the same end goal. And so once you've kind of done that big phase of planning for what we're actually going to be doing for the next kind of, say, your events in 6 months' time, we then have to think about the next course of action. And it's also about making sure that you structure your team for success. We kind of set up org charts at the very beginning of something, and we're in a team that, okay, we've been told that this person line manages into me, or this is how we need to structure the seniority of our teams. However, that might not be what's important and what's actually necessary for that particular learning event and program. And so what we really need to do here is really take a step back and think, okay, we've got our why. How can we then reflect in our team structure that why to make sure that all the actions and all the tasks and all the communications that are going to happen land solidly? It's at this point that we also do the complete project planning. it's always nice to have a clear kind of deadlines, clear structure in place before you start getting into the day-to-day. It's the things that keeps you honest, it's the thing that keeps you true. And what you really need at this stage is a very strong project manager or program manager that will keep those deadlines on track. And it's what will happen, and this happens a lot in projects and a lot in programs and a lot in events, is that people will be like, oh, we can push that deadline by a week, or it's okay, we can sort that out in a month's time. There's something else that we can prioritize now instead. And it's really, really important that you get a team involved that doesn't do that, that doesn't allow for the pushing of things. You've planned something at this stage and you've put those deadlines in place now up front because they were important. And it's really, really integral to the event success that you remember why they were important in the first place. And that's the reflection that you need to do. And that's the reflection that we encourage our teams to do. We set those high expectations with our partners and with our clients and say, this is how we work. Let's integrate. Let's do this together. And then in my experience, that's helped us build those strong partnerships. It's helped us build those strong relationships because they know that we're not going to compromise on anything. They know that we've taken what it is and why it is they want to do a program event and really reflected it in the project planning and in the way that the team's set up. It also has allowed us to have a forward-thinking approach, and it's the forward-thinking ways of working that really helps with this next stage, which in my mind is kind of the second most important phase of event management, and that is kind of risk planning and mitigating. And as leaders, we understand that it's okay when things don't go to plan. We understand that when things go wrong, lots and lots of things can be put in place to make it better and sort out and find a solution. And so it's really important when we have kind of individual team members and contributors that maybe are more risk averse to know that it's okay when things haven't happened, because we've done the forward planning, because we've done the planning for the planning, because we've put such stringent and strict guidelines in place that it's really easy to get back on track. And so during that planning phase, we have to think about what could possibly go wrong here, what could cause a delay to these deadlines. Is it getting approvals or anything like that? How can we mitigate that? So do we need to bring up some of our deadlines by a week in order to make sure that we hit that overall deadline? And yeah, it's really important to encourage your team to lean into the risks and to lean into things being kind of a bit uncomfortable, because that is sometimes where a better solution can be found. Because we go in with this planning, so we've got our whys, we've done all of that hard work, when actually we may have been so blindsided at that first bit that when something hasn't gone quite to plan, something better comes from it. And it's also in this phase where I also feel like you can really build great client relationships and great partnerships, because you are going through something that's hard, and you're kind of bonding through it and you're getting through it and you're coming up with the solutions, you're soundboarding, you are going back and forth, you're having the conversations, you're being creative to come up with a solution. And it's in those moments that I found that actually when we get to that solution, when we've done it right, and when we turn around and say, hey, this was something that you were worried about, but in actuality, we've come out with a solution, and they go, thank you. And so this is where I really feel like good partnerships can be built between the team. It's also a good use of technology, and using the right project planning platforms. That there's lots out there, or even if you're just using Excel, as long as you have set it up to allow people to be able to identify risks, and also be able to escalate them. It also teaches your kind of more junior members really good soft skills that will help them in their future careers, such as proactivity and remaining calm, being solution mindset focused, being able to have difficult conversations and kind of getting through the storm. And so I think this is a really important thing to embrace when it comes to event management, and not something that you should be fearful of. It's something that is going to happen. Something always goes against the plan, but that is absolutely fine. And so this shouldn't be something that puts people off putting on events. There's lots of factors to program events, and doing the right thing and making sure that the experience is really good for everyone involved, that it's normal for things not to go as we expect. What's probably then, to me, the third thing that is the most important is your actual event support staffing. Especially if you're having an on-site in-person event, because you want to make sure that the people that you've got are flexible, that they can pivot on a dime at a given moment, that although they are very calm and under control, can be what feels like in 20 places at once, even when they're not, and also have a team that supports each individual. You have to adopt a certain mindset when you're on site, where it's energetic and it's helpful, and it's that solution mindset finding, because you're coming across people that are wanting this event, that find this event, that this learning program that they've signed up for, or that they kind of have to attend. Their time's important to them, so they want to make sure that what they're doing and how they're spending their time is useful and is going to build them and is going to support them. And so you need staff that appreciate that. You need people on site that know how important the first step into that event building is. How is that experience going to be as soon as you walk through the doors? How are they going to get into the building? How are they gonna know where to go to? Who's going to greet them when they're there? How are they going to get through the day? And so you have to make sure that you've got the appropriate staff on site with that energy, and also that you have enough bodies in the room and around, because it's always, in my experience at least, people always kind of think, oh, we can do this with a couple of people, it's fine. You're always better to go with one more than you kind of your gut's telling you, because stuff does come up, and you will need that extra pair of hands. And at the end of the day, when you get home and you put your feet up, you'll be glad that you had that person there. And so I really promote having a strong team, a big team on site, and also to not stop that planning, because speakers could become sick. They might not be able to get in because there's another train strike, or there's just lots and lots of different things that can happen on site that you need to have planned for. So it's that forward thinking again, it's that risk mitigating. It's a speaker's dropped out at the time the session's meant to start. So how do you replace that? How can you work the agenda around without disappointing your participants? Because it is all about them at the end of the day. And that typically is what the why was at the beginning of all of this. And so that needs to underpin these events as well, and the mindset of the team on site. And so it's really important. This is what your event will be measured on in terms of if it's successful. So all of the planning that you've done to this stage, although very important to get here, from a participant perspective, this is where it will fall down if it's not done correctly. And so this shouldn't be the last thing that's thought about. It shouldn't be just a team you've pulled together at the last minute to kind of just help because you've realized you've needed some people. It should be something that you consider in that planning for the planning stage, and you've actually made a conscious decision about then and there, months ahead in most cases, because when you get your impact reporting and when you hear back from participants about their experience, they're going to tell you about how good the staff was supporting that event. Event apps and data-driven insights is also something that we are really big on within my events team. We support the use of event applications, and there's lots on the market. do lots and lots of different things, and when it's done right, it's amazing. It's an amazing experience. We do live in a technological world. We do want people to kind of, we're aware people are going to be on their phones, we're aware people are going to be checking on their laptops, those types of things. And so rather than pushing against it, how can we embrace it? And so the event applications that are on the market are incredible if you can use them in your events, because it can create connection. It can give people all of the information that they need at their fingertips at a given notice. You can send communications from them, you can create social feeds, you can really build engagement from them, and you can kind of get reaction straight away from the people using them, and it kind of, yeah, it just brings events into this 21st century, into this digital world. You can also download kind of user reports. So who have been the people that are really driving their engagement for this event? Who are people that are maybe not as interested and not as getting involved as others? What can we kind of take from it? And we can also send impact reportings and like surveys and questionnaires through apps, and that can then help us build what we do for the next program, for the next time that we deliver this, or for something that we're going to use in the future. And so it's really important, I think, to get this right and to use them. We found that events where we do use them compared to events that we don't, that we do have a better experience once they have an app involved, because it makes it feel special. They're really easy to use. They're very user friendly. Often you can kind of do it yourself. Upload all the data yourself, upload the agendas, upload the speaker bios, upload travel information, all of that good stuff you can do yourself. And then you just push it through and you create a world where, and it just makes the event feel really impressive, because there's an app specifically dedicated for me that can be tailored for me. And I don't just feel like a body coming in to learn something. I actually feel like an individual that they're targeting and that they want me here, and it can really set your events apart. And so where you can bring event apps or technology into your program events and into your learning events, I recommend it more than anything, because it just makes it feel really, really special. And that's why typically you pay the money to put these program events on, because you want people to feel like their development, their progression, what they're doing, what they're learning, how they're spending their time is important. And to be able to set the events apart, this will do that. And so it's kind of been a crash course here in the different kind of areas of the planning, and the elements of an event, and what I personally think is the right thing to do for events. Planning is so important, and it should happen way beyond getting onto a project plan conversation with the project manager or the event manager. It should happen the minute that you're starting to even consider putting on, whether it's a virtual event or a in-person event. And it's the why that should really underpin everything. Why do we need an event app? Why do we need on-site staffing? Why do we even need to put this learning program event on for people? And it's for the participants at the end of the day, and typically, and by doing that planning, by putting that thoughtful process in place, by making sure that your teams are structured and set up for success, by making sure that they understand that why, will always mean that your event is successful. Having done events in the past where we haven't gone into that level of planning, where we haven't done the detailed, thoughtful consideration piece up front, the event's gone okay. They're not the memorable ones that I reflect on and think, wow, we did an amazing job there, or I would have loved to have been a participant in that event. It's the events that I remember, the ones that always have that why, and always have had really strong planning, a really strong team, and a team that can be okay with change, and also then bring that energy on site and just like embrace the why during that event as well, because then from beginning to end, from the very first communication that participant receives to the questionnaire that they get at the end, they just feel special. And that's what learning program events, particularly in-person ones, should feel.
Thank you, Emily, for such a great presentation. Be sure to visit the GP Strategies website to view future sessions. And I wish everyone listening today a wonderful and productive rest of your day.
This webinar was brought to you by GP Strategies. Together, we help organizations transform through their people. You can access more webinars or download additional resources by visiting the GP Strategies Resource Library. The link is on your screen and in the description.